Good afternoon, traders, and welcome to the weekly market review. I'm your host, Paul. This is where I use wave analysis to look at the charts, identify patterns that could be playing out, and the important price levels. Going to be looking at the S&P, the Nasdaq, some select stocks, and Bitcoin. So let's get started. Going to start with the upcoming economic calendar for the week and some big data points coming out. Starting on Tuesday, you got ISM manufacturing. It's supposed to stay in line with the previous month's 47.2. You have JOLTS jobs openings, and that's supposed to be pretty much right in line with the previous month also. Nothing really on Wednesday. Got a lot of Fed speakers talking this week. Thursday, ISM services PMI, and that's supposed to be right in line with last month also. And then the big one is Friday, non-farm payrolls. And that's supposed to slightly increase from 142 to 145. So obviously, if they're anywhere around this 145 number, market's going to be happy with that. I think all the focus now for the next coming months is really going to be on employment, especially with Friday's PCE number. If we take a look, that fell down to 2.2%. So previous was 2.5. Consensus was it would be 2.3, and it actually came down to 2.2. So I think inflation is no longer going to be the worry for the Fed. Everything will just be based on employment numbers. So that'll always, for the next several months, non-farm payrolls will be the big number to keep an eye on. If there's any strong deviation one way or the other, that could cause some disruption in the markets. But if this number comes in and near this number, I think the market's going to be in love with that. All right, let's get on to the charts. Going to start with the S&P, and I believe Thursday they completed a diagonal here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then it's starting to sell off now. So I'm expecting a correction. If I zoom out to the 4-hour chart, it's still not clear what this pattern is. I have 5 waves up to here, and then they made that 3-wave correction right to the top of the green zone. And now we've got a 5-wave move. So this diagonal, it could be either a leading diagonal for one, and then I would expect it to come down into this green zone, or this could be like the A wave. They could be making like a big, actually a really big running flat over here. Because if I zoom out, I thought that this whole thing from here, so this is 1 over here, this is 2, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 3. I thought the 4 was in, but this could still all be part of the 4. This could be just the A wave, because the way this is acting, it's not getting quite impulsive enough to be like that's 1 and that's 2. And then we're in the 3rd wave. Like there's some strong divergence here on this 4-hour chart. So I'm expecting a correction, and both of the correction zones that I have it going down to kind of overlap. So it's like I expect it to go down, but even when it comes down into here, I'm not going to be able to know what this pattern is yet. So we're just going to have to wait and see when it corrects. And then when they come up, then what happens at that point? Because it could be that this is a leading diagonal up to here, and that was just the first wave of the 3rd wave. And we'll get a 3-wave correction, and then that would be 2, and then it'll come up for 3, 4, and then 5. And so that's why I need to see what happens when they correct and then go back up. Because it could also just be that it's just going to come down into this purple zone, not reach the green, go back up, and the target up here is this 58.80 range. and then that's just going to be like an ABC, and then we're going to get a strong sell-off, and this whole thing could be a running flat for the 4. So we'll have this look. And all of this is just the 4. So it didn't end here, it'll end over here. So that's why I got to wait and see. But the overall theme is I'm only a buyer. I don't know why anybody would be selling in this market unless you're hedging. So, if you're not in, I think the real question would be, why are you not in? Because I don't see any reason why you should be selling. Fundamentals and technicals are both lining up for more up. So if it does drop, this is definitely a very good buy zone for at least one more up, and then we'll have to see, because it could get a strong sell-off if they're making this into a running flat. So got to wait and see, but I expect a correction next week, and then still more up to go break 58.30 once more. And the Nasdaq, obviously going to be pretty much the same thing. The only thing with this is, I'm going to zoom in here. It looks to me like we got 5 waves there, corrected here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I thought they were going to make a diagonal here, because it looked like three waves, 3 waves, and 3 waves. And so far we do have a 3-wave move down. So it would have to reverse really hard, like on starting on Sunday night when futures opens up, and then all day come and break it, and then that would be an ending diagonal. That I want to see if that pattern plays out. If not, then I think this could be like a ABC. Actually, be more like a WX, and then a Y, and then it should be coming down at least into this purple zone, 2073, 19,786. Come down in 3 waves. Give you like an ABC correction. Could come down even farther, but at least down into here. I got this invalidation point. That's just for me, because I see this as a ending diagonal. But once it breaks 1953, then it's no longer a diagonal. And quite frankly, if it gets any lower than 2173, like this is just too big for a 4th wave. So, but the invalidation point is 19,953. That's just for me to think, to see if they make that move. So then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then the sell-off would happen. So yeah, because the S&P to me looks like it should be starting its correction. I have a feeling that the top might be in for the Nasdaq, and it's going to start a bigger correction and be coming down probably more like into the bottom of this purple zone, 19,786. And then that means that Nasdaq is going to be going up, probably in a diagonal, because this is just a 3-wave move so far upwards. So that's why I want to see what happens on the Nasdaq. But just like the S&P, I'd only be looking for buys. There'll be corrections, but every correction is buyable. I don't see any way that this would be like coming all the way down under 17,581, even though it's just a 3-wave move. So I think the pattern for the Nasdaq is a diagonal, because you had a 3-wave move, you had this ABC. So far we only have 3, so I mean it could be a really big WXY, and it does come all the way down, but not until I see some really strong selling, especially when they come and break that C low, because I think that was 1 and this is 2, and they're going up for 3, like I said last week, with the target being 21,474. So I think this could all be the A wave, gonna get a B wave down into this, at least into the purple zone, and like I said, it could come even further, but it can't break the 18,574 range. So if you see that, then it's probably coming all the way down actually. But I think this is A, they'll make a B, and then they'll make a strong C wave to get up into that third wave area. Oops. Up into this zone. That's the target for the third wave. And then you can get a fourth wave followed by still a fifth wave. So still a lot of corrections going to be happening, and I think every dip still remains viable. All right, let's look at some stocks. We'll start with AMD. Zoom in on the 2 hour on this. So this one, pretty much just like the Nasdaq, I see this as a 3-wave move up to here. So I think they're coming up in a diagonal, and that was 1. And this is a 3-wave move for 2. And I think this, it's a 3-wave move so far. 1, come on, 2, and then this 5-wave move up to complete what I think is just the A wave, because the third wave target is actually 172 to 181. So I think this is just a 3-wave for A, and they should come down into this 154, 160 range for B, and then one more up. And then that'll complete the third wave. Then you get a bigger 4-wave move down before it goes up. One more time for the 5th wave. So I think they're making a diagonal here. And yeah, this AMD looks really good, especially if you can get it, you know, say like 155, because that would give you, let's see, or maybe like something in the middle here, like 157 something. You know, that would be over 9% to get back to that target. So that'd be a really nice trade if you're not in AMD. Okay, Amazon. All right, Amazon. So I've got 5 waves labeled already. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to that 195 high. I got this first purple zone as a potential place where it'll bounce from and go break 195 one more time, if I am not counting this right, because I think this is 1, 2, and then there's this little 3, 4, 5-wave move. I think that's 5 waves for the third. I could have it wrong, and this is actually 1, 2, and this is 3 and 4 and 5, and this is all just a third wave, and then this is going to be where the 4th wave is, and then it goes up. So this would be the zone to be looking for the buy if I'm wrong. I think I have the 5 waves correct, and so then I'm expecting it to come down into this, either this purple zone in 3 waves and then go, or it's going to come down into the green zone in 3 waves and then go. So obviously, if you're not in Amazon and you see it down in this green zone, I'd be very, very willing to buy it down in here. To get 171, just to get back to the top alone would be a nice 13% gain. And obviously, it would probably go well above 195. So yeah, I think Amazon looks really good on a pullback into one of these 2 zones. But first, we got to confirm that the 5 waves are in, because it might not. If it bounces, it would have to literally bounce from where it is pretty much right now. Maybe a little sell off Monday, and then it rockets up to break 195. So even if you miss that, it's still going to then correct, because that'll be a 5-wave move, and then you're going to still get a correction. You know, this purple zone will then have to move up accordingly, and the green zone will move up. But any correction then, really, really attractive. All right, Google. Google is one that there's a couple patterns that are in play. You know, I have it that the 4 is in 3-wave move, But the way this is acting right now, like there's just this little three wave move here. Like on Friday, they just broke that previous high. So it's very possible that first three wave move was just the A wave. Now they just completed the B wave, and they still might come all the way down to 147 for this C wave and then take off. But either way, you know, either the four is in or they got one more to 147 or a little bit lower before they go up for their fifth wave. But I'd only want to be buying. I mean, you got from where it is right now just to get back to the top of the third. I mean, that's over 16%. Probably the fifth wave will go above it. So I'd only want to be buying. So it's just not clear what this also could just be. Maybe they're going to go up in a diagonal for this fifth wave, and this little three wave move, that's just like the A wave, and maybe they'll give a B wave and then a strong C, and then that'll be the first wave, and then 2, 3, 4, and 5, something like that. So yeah, I just think pretty much every stock in the market looks really good, and Google's one of the better looking ones just because of, like I said, even if you bought it from right now, you're looking at over 16% just to reach the top, and it'll probably even give you more than that. So I accumulating anywhere down in here makes a lot of sense. Okay, Tesla. Tesla's an interesting one because of the pattern that's playing out. If I go down to like a 1 hour, it looks like they're making a diagonal because this first wave just looks like 1, 2, 3 waves, and then here was a 1, 2, 3, and now so far we just have this 1 and a 2, and I think they're making an impulse here. It came up here in a leading diagonal, corrected for 2, so 1, 2. I think this is also a running flat. So I had a running flat here, had a running flat here, because I think this is 3, 4. And so they should be going up to break 261.75 one more time for that fifth wave. And then you'd have your A, B, C. And I think then this would be 1. And that's 2. And then they should be finishing that third wave and give you a fourth wave down before they go back up for the fifth wave. So, pretty much just like I see the S&P and Nasdaq needing corrections down, I think Tesla will follow, but only after they break 261.75 to finish this fifth wave. And then any correction, just like everything else, should be bought to go up for that fifth wave because it looks very much like a diagonal. And they should be breaking 271. I don't think this wave here for this, when they go up and break it, I think they'll probably get close and then sell it off. And then the fifth wave will go and break that 271 level. I don't think they'll do it on this third wave, but they could. But yeah, I think a three wave pullback becomes very viable. Okay, let's look at Bitcoin. All right, so Bitcoin, go out to a 2 hour here. Got this 5-wave move up, corrected down. And then you got this 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, but it doesn't look like it's done yet because I just see 3 waves. 1, 2, and 3. So I want to see the react. They might be making like an ending diagonal for this fifth wave. So I got to wait and see. I don't think I'd be even a buyer up here because something I think is ending. You're getting some strong divergence. And, in case I have the count wrong, if you could be having like a big correction, all of a sudden you're buying in the 60s and all of a sudden it's down in the 50s. But to me, it looks like this fifth wave isn't done yet. So I want to see if this is maybe like the first wave, and then they're going to come down. I would expect it to, if it's coming down for the second wave, it should come into this green zone for 2, and then go up for a 3, 4, and then one more for the 5. So want to see the reaction if it gets down here, if it holds in here somewhere and then reverses to go back up for the third wave of that fifth wave. But yeah, like I said, I don't think I'd necessarily be buying up here. I'd let this just kind of play out, because there should be relatively soon a pretty big correction coming. I mean, one other possibility is that this is all going to be some kind of running flat. But it had to be a really strong sell-off. So, but either way, I think you'll be able to get it well under 64 if you just wait and let this play out. I think you know, a natural target for them would be under all of this price action here in this 62,000 range. So I think you'll be able to get it under there. Just have to let this big impulse move play out, finish, and then wait for the big correction. And then you'll get it, and then you can buy. All right, so that's what I see in the markets. Hope it helps. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your likes and support. See you next week.